A tremor has begun deep inside you. You feel it. A thought that has branded itself onto your consciousness, returning again and again, refusing to be banished. A name, left unspoken for months, now rests upon your tongue like a forgotten hymn your soul has been chanting in secret. In the next 36 hours, the planet Mercury will commit an act of celestial rebellion, a maneuver it only dares once during its backward spiral. It will halt its retreat, it will shed its cloak of shadows, and it will march directly into the blazing heart of the Sunday. This is the Cazimi, and the one arriving on March 6th and 7th is charged with a rare and potent fire. Since February 25th, Mercury has been moving backward through the mystical waters of Pisces, dredging long-dead conversations from the depths and dissolving the veil between what you remember and what you have dreamed. It has warped your inner landscape into a hall of mirrors where your own reflection is a stranger. But in this very moment, at 16 degrees and 52 minutes of Pisces, the foundation of this illusion cracks open. The messenger of the gods plunges into the solar core, and for a sacred window of time, measured not in days but in fleeting hours, the fog of confusion is not merely thinned, it is vaporized. The ancient stargazers had a name for this. They called it being cradled in the heart of the Sunday, not near its power, not beside its throne, but inside its very essence. And what is born from that fire is not destruction, it is consecration. Every tangled thread of confusion Mercury has carried in this retrograde, every half-truth that has poisoned your thoughts, every phantom sentence echoing in the chambers of your mind, all of it is now offered to the cosmic furnace. What is false will be utterly consumed by the heat. What is true will emerge from the blaze, refined, undeniable, and impossible for you to ever ignore again. And the universe is not finished. The very instant Mercury emerges from this baptism of fire, it reaches across the cosmos to Jupiter, exalted in the sign of Cancer, forging a trine so perfect it feels less like chance and more like a sacred appointment made before you were ever born. Jupiter stations direct 3 days later. The great teacher unbars the gate only after the student has walked through the flames. Stay with me now. What I am guiding you through is not simply an astrological event. It is a turning point for your soul, disguised as a planetary transit. To feel the power of what is unfolding, you must understand what Cazimi truly is, not the hollow definition you find in a fleeting search. The real meaning, the one carried through centuries like a sacred ember passed from hand to hand in the deepest dark. 1400 years ago, in the final, fading light of the classical world, an Egyptian astrologer named Retrograde sat within the crumbling Byzantine Empire and began a holy work, a compendium, a vessel to preserve everything the sky watchers had learned from generations of staring upward and inward all at once. He gathered the shattered pieces of Hellenistic wisdom, the way a man gathers the last vital seeds before a long and brutal winter, praying that what he saved would be enough to survive. And in that sacred record, he used a Greek phrase that would forever change our bond with the sun, egg cardio, in the heart, not orbiting near it, not glancing past it, but seated within the very chest of the most powerful being in our solar system, held as close as a secret inside a confession, just before the lips part to speak. 3 centuries on, the Persian astrologer Sal ibn Bishr translated that phrase into Arabic. Cazimi, in the heart of the Sunday. And from the sands of Persia to the towers of medieval Italy, from Saul to Guido Bonatti in the 13th century, this sacred meaning held fast. They knew that when a planet strays too close to the sun, it burns. Its light is annihilated. Its voice is silenced. The ancient texts called this combustion, and they feared its power to erase. A combust planet is a messenger sent walking through fire with its lips sewn shut, its signal lost to static, its divine gifts rendered unreachable. But the Cazimi is the one, singular, razor-thin exception. When the planet does not merely approach the sun but enters its absolute center, within 17 minutes of arc, something miraculous reverses. The fire does not destroy, it consecrates. The messenger does not lose its voice. It is granted the voice of the sun itself. Picture it in your soul. A goldsmith forces raw, impure ore into a crucible. The heat becomes an unbearable agony. Every piece of dross, every worthless element, rises to the surface and is scraped away. What is left gleaming at the bottom is not damaged. It is revealed, pure, brilliant, and stripped of everything it was never meant to be. That is the alchemy awaiting Mercury on March 7th. Now, feel why this particular Cazimi carries a weight that will shake your very foundations. Mercury is not just passing through this celestial fire, it is enduring this trial while moving backward through the sky. This is what astronomers term an inferior conjunction. An inferior has nothing to do with being lesser. It means Mercury stands between the Earth and the Sun, closer to you, closer to your physical body, than at any other point in its celestial dance. The messenger is not calling to you from across a valley. It is leaning in so close that you can feel its cosmic breath upon the back of your neck. And it delivers this intimate message from within the depths of Pisces. Of all 12 signs, Pisces is where Mercury is in exile. Traditional astrology calls this watery realm its sign of detriment and fall. Mercury craves the certainty of logic, of lists, of clean, sharp lines. Pisces offers none. Pisces communicates in the language of symbols, the whispers of dreams, the profound ache in your heart you can feel but cannot name. And so, for weeks, this Mercury retrograde in Pisces has felt like trying to read a divine message written on paper that dissolves into water the moment you touch it. The language has been there, the message has been present, but its true form has remained just beyond your grasp, dissolving like mist until this very moment. Because now, as Mercury plunges into the very heart of the Sun, at 16 degrees and 52 minutes of Pisces, that ephemeral whisper from the universe finally takes form. The ink sets, the symbols cease their maddening dance, and the truth revealed may shatter every expectation you hold. It could be a profound realization you have been desperately avoiding for weeks, a ghost you have been outrunning for months, or a destiny you have sidestepped for years. Yet on this day, within this razor-thin passage of time, the churning waters of your soul turn to crystal, and you can see straight into the depths of your own being. If you have already felt the pull, that deep, resonant hum, let me give it a name. It likely began as an unnerving stillness deep inside your core. This was not sickness. It was a sacred halt, a ceasefire, your own nervous system declared without your consent. You may have felt your own voice break at strange intervals, a primal hesitation to answer even the simplest of inquiries, as if your very bones understand a greater truth is fighting its way to the surface, a truth that exists beyond the confines of mere words. Perhaps you have been jolted from sleep in the dead of night, summoned by a dream fragment that evaporates the instant you try to seize it. The pictures fade, but the feeling, a heavy, suffocating weight clings to you, trailing into your waking hours like the smoke from a fire you never ignited. Or maybe its arrival was quieter. A face you had buried in memory marched into your consciousness last week and has refused to leave. A conversation that still burns with unspoken words. A question whose silence has become a deafening roar. A door you bolted so perfectly you almost believed the entire world behind it ceased to exist. It never disappeared. For weeks, Mercury retrograde in Pisces has been a silent sentinel before that very door, rattling the lock, waiting for you to finally turn the key. These are not coincidences, they are coordinates. When Mercury journeys backward through a water sign, the edits are not made to your schedule or your communications. The revisions are etched into your soul's architecture, the chambers of your heart you sealed shut, the emotional depths you deliberately chose to drown. Pisces is the ruler of the invisible realm, the oceanic unconscious, the part of your spirit that knows what your conscious mind will not dare to acknowledge. And Mercury has been navigating that underworld, stumbling in the dark over truths you thought were long buried. This Cazimi is the moment the lightning strikes. Not a gentle sunrise, but a sudden, blinding, inescapable flare of revelation. And in that searing light, you will be forced to gaze upon the one thing you have fought not to see. A bond you are sustaining from the sheer force of duty rather than the pulse of love. A story about who you are, authored by someone who never had the right to hold the pen. A life that is meticulously correct on the surface, but feels like a forgery deep in your marrow. This is the truth that does not knock. It kicks down the door. This is the sacred promise of the cosmos, and it is a promise that is not delivered gently. Not when Mercury is forged in the sun's furnace, deep within the most mysterious waters of the zodiac. But this is the detail that elevates this moment from merely brutal to utterly transcendent. The instant Mercury survives its trial by fire and emerges from the sun's blinding core, it is met by a waiting Jupiter. And not just any Jupiter. This is Jupiter in its full power in Cancer, poised at 15 degrees, creating a sacred alignment with Mercury so flawless it is like a prayer finally being answered. Jupiter is the ancient guardian of Pisces. It is the benevolent host to Mercury throughout its chaotic pilgrimage. And at this precise moment, Jupiter hangs almost perfectly still in the heavens, stationed at the exact point where it will surge forward on March 10th. Can you feel the gravity of what this means? The great planet of wisdom, faith, and cosmic purpose has been holding its breath for months, accumulating a power, a grace it could not bestow until now. And as Mercury is reborn from the solar blaze, Clutching the raw clarity it found there, Jupiter finally, powerfully, exhales. It begins its forward march, shattering the obstacles ahead like a great river obliterating a dam that has held back your destiny since November. The mystics of old knew this as a sacred reception, the wise king, welcoming home the messenger from a long and harrowing journey. Mercury has been adrift in the Piscean fog, disoriented, scorched, nearly consumed by the sun's blinding proximity. But it never stopped its journey, and now it reaches the crucible, is burned clean, and is purified. And in that same breath, it is anointed by its own guardian through the most profound blessing in the cosmic language. This is not a chance encounter. This is a divine unfolding. It is a celestial choreography that began its intricate dance the moment Mercury stepped into its retrograde shadow on February 11th. The eclipse on March 3rd was the tremor that cracked the foundations. The Cazimi on March 7th is the light that floods the abyss. And Jupiter's forward motion on March 10th is the universe granting you the strength to act on this newfound vision. 3 acts in one divine drama. And you are right now, in this breath, standing in the heart of the second act in that sacred, terrifying space between what has been illuminated and what is now possible. So the question is no longer if this cosmic current will find you. It is already coursing through your veins. The real question is, what will you do in these precious hours? When the veil between worlds is at its most transparent, and the reflection in the mirror shows you nothing but your own soul. Let me guide you through the tremors this Cazimi is sending through every facet of your existence, because the fire Mercury walks through is not abstract. It is a brand upon your very being. It is lodging itself in your throat, a truth that has become physical, a knot forming in the sinew of your relationships. It lives in the silent treaties you've upheld with those who ceased deserving your candor ages ago. Begin with the language you have been forcing down. I am the architect of that unspoken sentence, the one you have meticulously crafted in the shadowed corridors of your mind for weeks, yet never dared to release. Here, in these Piscean waters, those unsent words do not lie dormant. They alchemize, they accrue mass. They press against the walls of your chest like a tide rising in a chamber with no escape. This divine alignment shatters the seal, and the flood that erupts might startle you, not with its novelty, but with the profound, resonant echo of a truth you have carried in your bones all along, refusing to give it voice. If a vital conversation has been languishing in the shadows of your intent, if you have been sanding down the sharp edges of a reality until it is a pale imitation of itself, then listen. This is the sacred aperture through which the raw, unvarnished truth insists on being born. Not the polished artifact, not the comfortable lie, but the core truth that remains glowing at the base of the pyre after all that is decorative has been incinerated. Now, turn your gaze to the connections you forge. For weeks, this cosmic current has been tracing the seams of every bond you hold, testing the very fibers to see which are woven from strength and which are merely tacked together by the thin threads of habit and a terror of the void. Now, the heart of the sun illuminates the verdict of that relentless test. You will suddenly perceive, with a clarity that aches, which connections nourish your soul and which have been siphoning your very life force. This is not a moment for blame. These waters do not carry the currency of blame. They offer the stark, cold currency of recognition, a quiet, earth-shattering recognition that some alliances were never forged to last, and the act of holding their fragments together has been exacting a toll on your spirit you can no longer afford to pay. And then, we arrive at the covenant with your own soul. This, perhaps, is the most profound incision of all. This celestial alignment possesses a singular gift for exposing the deceptions we whisper to ourselves with the fiercest conviction. The narrative that insists you are fine, the fable that you can survive without that which your spirit desperately craves, the elaborate fiction that the life you have constructed is the one your heart truly desired, and not the one you accepted because the audacity of wanting more felt like a perilous gamble. This solar heart holds a torch to these fabricated tales, and a flame held so close to a mask will fuse it to your skin. Understand, this is not an act of cruelty. It is the star at your center, doing what it must, revealing all that is real by rendering it impossible to seek shelter behind illusion. I must be precise with you now, for timing is everything when the gateway is this fleeting. The celestial pressure begins to intensify on March the 6th, as the messenger planet closes the final degree of its pilgrimage toward the sun's throne. By the pre-dawn hours of March the 7th, Eastern Time, the union becomes absolute. This zenith is ephemeral, a few hours at most, where the messenger sits within those 17 minutes of arc, a space the ancient stargazers knew as a sacred threshold. Yet the essence of what is unveiled does not simply vanish when this portal closes. It remains. It seeps into the very soil of your days to come, and what unfolds next is of paramount importance. On March the 9th, the messenger, still in its backward dance, but now cradling the sun's clarity like a glowing ember in its hands, perfects its angle to the great expander, Jupiter, in the waters of Cancer. This is the moment the revelation becomes an instrument. The solar heart shows you the truth. This harmonious alignment with Jupiter shows you how to wield it. Together, they speak the dialect of your emotional core, a knowing rooted not in the labyrinth of the mind, but deep within your gut, in your body's primal memory of what genuine safety and true expansion feel like in your very cells. If the heart of the sun is the blinding flare that illuminates a darkened chamber, then this planetary harmony is the moment your vision adjusts to the light, and you finally perceive the path forward. One day later, on March the 10th, the great giant Jupiter pivots and stations direct. This is no trivial shift. Jupiter has been journeying inward since October, digesting experience, compressing its blessings into a potent density that could not be offered until this very moment. As it awakens at 15 degrees of Cancer, it begins to unfurl and distribute all it has held in reserve. Pathways that seemed blocked will now clear. Emotional evolution that felt suspended in ice will begin to thaw. The faith you may have lost in the grand design might silently find its way back to you, not as a fragile belief, but as a knowing forged in fire. So I lay the sequence bare for you. March the 6th, the sacred fire builds. March the 7th, the messenger is purified in the solar core, and truth is distilled to its absolute essence. March the 9th, that pure truth finds its channel through the expansive wisdom of Jupiter. March the 10th, the great planet surges forward, and the way is made clear. 4 days, a single, unbroken arc from confusion to crystalline clarity to decisive motion. Now, I will give you a tool, something for your hands. Because to comprehend a cosmic current with your mind is one thing. To meet it with the full weight of your body and the focus of your intention is another matter entirely. On the night of March the 6th, as you prepare for sleep, take a single sheet of paper, not from a journal nor a notebook, one solitary, unbound sheet, something you can hold between your palms. At its apex, inscribe one question, the one you have been terrified to answer with brutal honesty, the one that sends a current through your jaw the moment it breaches the surface of your thoughts. Do not write the answer, inscribe only the question. Then place it beside your bed and surrender it to the custody of the night. Your dreaming self speaks the language of these cosmic waters more fluently than your conscious mind ever could. Trust it to undertake the sacred work your waking self has so fiercely resisted. On the morning of March 7th, before your hand finds its first worldly anchor, I command you, grant 3 minutes to the absolute silence. This is not the structured quiet of meditation. It is a profound, raw stillness, a space for the revelations of the night to crystallize within your waking soul. Then, and only then, seize the page. You will write what comes, unleashing a torrent of ink without the interference of the inner censor or the correcting mind. Command your hand to move with the force of a river bursting through a shattered dam. What floods that paper is not merely you. It is Mercury's solar heart speaking directly through your nervous system. As March 8th dawns, you will carry that sacred script outside. If the world allows, plant your bare feet upon the living body of the earth, on soil, on grass. Feel the planet's cold, electric pulse surge through your skin. Read the words aloud, one final time, as a decree. Then, fold the paper and offer it to the flame. You are not destroying this truth. You are liberating it from the prison of paper, transmuting it into the very energy of your life. Watch the smoke ascend. Fire is the sun's native tongue. Let the words journey home to their celestial source. On March 9th, under the potent alignment of Mercury and Jupiter, you will write again. But this time, you will not scribe the question. You will write the first step, a single, embodied action that honors the sacred fire's revelation. This is not a map, not a strategy. It is one, definitive, physical step. It is the kind of instinctive movement a body makes when the compass of the soul finally locks onto its true north. And on March 10th, as the Titan Jupiter halts its backward dance and surges forward, you will take that step. Do not dare to wait for a perfect moment. That perfect moment is a ghost, a myth whispered into your ear by the shadow of Mercury Retrograde, designed only to keep you frozen in place. Jupiter's charge forward is the cosmos roaring its permission. It is a tectonic promise that to move is now sacred, that the ground beneath you will hold, that all which was compressed is now commanded to expand. This 5-day passage from elemental fire to solid earth to irrevocable action is not a human design. It is an ancient rite, inscribed into the divine geometry of the sky. The planets are not offering a gentle suggestion. They are enacting a cosmic law before your very eyes. Your only role is to be a conscious participant in this drama, rather than letting it drown you in its tide, as it will those who never learn to listen. You are here, you are awake, and the undeniable fact that this transmission found you, at this exact moment in this sacred transit, speaks volumes about the vibrational plane on which you already exist. But our journey is not over. There is another layer to this solar alignment, a truth so profound it will reframe the very ground you walk upon for the rest of this month. On the very day this solar heart fire ignites, Venus, the crucible of your heart, blazes into Aries to meet the oceanic depths of Neptune, an embrace unseen in this sign for over 160 years. The heart cracks wide open at the exact same instant the mind is gifted with blinding clarity. That is not the universe being convenient. That is the divine architecture of a turning point. When the messenger is purified by solar fire, and the heart is reborn in the very same breath, you are not being offered mere information. You are being offered an initiation. And an initiation demands that you walk through the doorway knowing you will be annihilated and reborn, never to return as the person you were before. Most will experience this week as a disquieting turbulence, a vague confusion that sharpens into an unbearable internal pressure. They will wait for it to pass, the way one waits for a storm to break. But you are not waiting. You are standing with your eyes wide open in the heart of the cosmic forge, watching the alchemical heat separate the gold of your soul from the lead that was never yours to carry. And you are choosing, consciously, to leave the slag behind. This is a monumental act, to gaze into the furnace of your own truth without flinching, and allow it to rearrange the very atoms of your being. So I leave you with this. The solar alignment lasts but a few hours. The retrograde's echo lasts for weeks. But the version of you that emerges from this sacred passage, that being is eternal. The gold was never added. It was always within you. The sun's fire simply made its brilliance impossible to ignore any longer. Now, carry that fire forward. If a soul in your orbit has been lost in this retrograde's fog, bearing a weight they cannot name, become the conduit for this message. Allow this whisper to find the ear it was always meant for. And if what you felt today ignited something that was waiting to be named, give it form, write it down. Not for any other eyes, but for your own soul. Let the page become the vessel, so your heart does not have to bear the pressure alone. This sacred work, this translation of the cosmic symphony into a language your body can feel, it thrives because you are here, listening, attuned. It is so that the next time the sky speaks with this undeniable clarity, you will be there to answer the call in time. The universe has made its move. What happens next is in your hands.